try and explain how to get some basic GDP data from Fred into R. So we can start by creating a new script here, and you're gonna want to get an API key. And you get an API key by going on to the Fredder website, and here you have the CRAN project website that explains how to get the API key step by step. And so you're going to have to create an account, and once you have an account and it's verified, you'll be provided an API key that you can use to get the Fred data in R. So let's get started. So first you're going to want to install and load the packages. So we can write install and load packages. And so in this case, we write install dot packages, and we're gonna want to open DevTools. And then we write DevTools as install from GitHub, I believe. Yeah, there we go. And here we write the source, which is soy boisel at Fredder. Let's see here, Fredder, there. And you then load it. You're gonna load this package from the library. So you're gonna write library, and then Fredder. So the next step would be to set the API key. And so I'm gonna do this separately if I can, because the API key is actually a private key that is given to you. So I'm gonna pause the video for 1 second, and I'm gonna load in the API key. To get the API key, you're gonna want to write the following. So let's just write set Fredder API, and you're gonna write Fredder underscore set key, and here you're gonna write in whatever API key you have, and then we're gonna want to get the key. So API key, and then you write the following: Fredder get key, and that's all. So if you run this in R, you're going to install the following package, and you're going to get the API key. And from there on, you can start loading in the data. So let's get some data. So this would be one way to get some basic data from Fred. And to make this clear, to get the data, you're going to need to get the tags for the specific data. So in this case, let's write. I don't know if this is gonna appear. I'm having some issues with my recording software. So if I write M2, you're gonna be able to see a tag on here. I'm not sure if you can see the screen or not, but that is what you're gonna get. So with that in mind, I'm gonna write the following script: GDP data, and then Fredder series ID, and this is where you write the tag. So in our case, if we were going to get the GDP data, it's simply GDP. And we also want to take into account some kind of a frequency. Are we getting monthly data? Are we getting quarterly data, or even daily data? But I'm assuming most data on Fred is quarterly or monthly. So let's write frequency, and then equals, let's get quarterly data. Most GDP data is quarterly. And in that case, to have the same scale when measuring this, let's make sure we get another data set that is also in quarters. So let's get the M2 money supply. And the series ID here is M2SL, I believe. And then we have the frequency. There's also another way to get the data. We can get data with time frame. So we can get the data within some kind of a given time frame as well. And in that case, we do the same thing, but we expand upon the script a bit more. So after having written frequency, we will continue to write observation start equals, and this would be then, oh, sorry, as date. And now we write the date. So let's get some data from 1970, and then have that continue to 2018. So observation end would equal as date 2018 0101. There we go. So to make this easy for us, let's just copy this and paste this here. There we go. So now we should get the data for GDP and M2 within this given time frames. So let's, you know what? Let's wait with running this. Let's write the entire script first, and then we can run the model. So let's say you then want to merge the data sets. You know what? Let's run this because it's gonna help explain what values we're getting for the merged data set. So let's run this. See here. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, sorry. State, not add date. State, and then we run this, and voila, we get the data. And so you see here, DSGE data. Oh, sorry, this is this is a different data set. Here we are, M2 data and GDP data. We have the values here, and you see the values and the data go all the way from 1970 to 2018 for the two data sets. And so what we want to do now is that we want to merge these data sets. So let's write here, merge data sets. And to merge the data sets, let's create a new data set with the values from the corresponding two data sets that we are merging. So let's write data, and let's merge. And here we're gonna write GDP underscore data. Then we are, let's see if I remember how to do this, the brackets, and we are doing comma, C date. So we want to have the date for the GDP data. We also want to have the value, and the value that we're taking from GDP data is the value you're seeing right here. Then we continue and we do the same thing for M2. So you can copy this, let's paste it onto here if I'm not fully wrong, and M2, and we want to sort this. So by date, and we want to keep the suffixes, there we go, as C dot GDP and dot M2. So let's see if this works. Let's run the script. Yeah. So we have created a data set where we have the date from 1970 to 2018 with the values for GDP and the value for M2. And so now, if we want to, we could play around with the data and do all sorts of tests. But in this case, I'm gonna just show you how to do a simple linear regression. So to do that, all we need is the corresponding values from these two data sets. So we're gonna write the following. Model is LM. LM is used for the linear regression model. Value.gdp, and then we're gonna write a small scribble like that, and then value.m2. So in our model here, value GDP should be the dependent variable and value M2 should be the independent variable. And I think we have to set the data set as well. So in this case, it would be data equals the data, which is the data set we are using. So let's run this model, press run. So we have now run the linear regression. And to get the values, we simply write summary model. And then we can run this. And here we get the significance levels, the p-values, that is, and the residuals and this R-square. And we can see that it's quite a high R-square for variation in GDP and variation in M2. And so to plot this, if we were to plot the graph, we can do the following. So plot the regression, and we just have to write plot, get the data set, and here we have to write the $sign value dot M2. Now I don't remember which one is on the X and Y axis here, but we're gonna find out soon enough. Value dot GDP. That should be it. So if I run this, there we go. Okay, that doesn't look right, but there we go. That's the way to plot it. And if you want to have a line correspond to these values, you write abline model. And you run this, and you get a line here as well. So hopefully this video has been somewhat helpful in showing how you can get some basic GDP data from Fred in R, and how to plot that data and run a simple linear regression.